Hello. Welcome to United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. I'm not used to having that speaker right behind me. Uh, Once again, we have a lovely presentation scheduled for tonight. Uh, it is quite inclement right now, not as bad as some, just a slight drizzle, and the wind has picked up a bit. But I want to thank you all for joining us online. I think we have some public over there. For those of you online, you can always check us out through our website, uacnj.org. You'll find a list of all our talks that are coming up, talks we've done in the past, plus information on our member clubs, as well as all the telescopes that we have, including our newly dedicated Greg Waldron Observatory. Right. We also have our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Hey, Chris, can you turn down the speaker behind me just a smidge? And with that, we also are a nonprofit, so we have kept going through the donations of people who have not only come on site, but also reached us through our Patreon or various links through our Amazon, through our website. Uh, for those of you who are here, and I see you just filing in, if you do need to use the bathroom, we have the porta potty. My right, your left, lit up by the red, and now Lonnie's flashlight. We also have a little gift shop and museum area available after the presentation, where I will be manning. So we're going to get started into this presentation tonight, and it's going to be What's Up in the October Sky. Lonny Buinis has been presenting What's Up in the Sky at UACNJ since it opened in 1994. He's been an amateur astronomer since age 10 and still has his first telescope. I think you do still.
Yes.
Yes. He holds 2 degrees from Stevens Institute of Technology in physics and computer science, but thinks his practical experience doing space art, space animation, and virtual reality objects is more important. Lonnie has written many books.
Oh, no.
Just one still?
One
I
so
thought
far.
you had a couple more in the works.
Oh, in the works.
Ah, in the works. Soon. Soon we will see them all. Plus a plethora of animated space virtual objects that you can peruse through his website, which he will shamelessly promote later. But then again, we also shamelessly promote, so I can't blame him. And with that, Lonnie.
Oh, thank you very much, Kim. I hope you can all hear me clearly. It's very nice to be here. We're talking about what's up in the sky. And the big question is, who cares? Why should we care what's up in the sky? I've been thinking about this. It's a very philosophical question. We have so many problems here now. Why should we care what's up in the sky, especially tonight when it's raining and we can't see any of it? Well, oh, yeah, sure. Pardon us, technical adjustments. Oh, very good. Thank you, Kim. Kim is one of many amateur astronomers who help run the UACNJ. We're all amateurs here. We do this for love, not money. And we do it because we like to promote the sky to the general public. That includes me. I'm a layperson. I'm not a professional astronomer, right? And the reason we do it, why? To expand our minds, to not only to escape from our problems on Earth, but to give us a perspective of where we are in the universe and how we relate to the universe and how it relates to us. So let's find out what's up in the October sky. And we're looking at an image of things you would see on a clear night if you look straight up, straight overhead, including beautiful nebulas, some in the shape of the North American continent. So I'm going to have a little contest. Let's see if the audience can guess what the name of that nebula might be. On a night when we can observe, when it's nice and dark, we do have some safety tips, and those go for tonight as well. And that is especially when you leave. We used to ask you not to use your lights because it would interfere with observation in telescopes. Please do use your headlights and be careful making that turn around down to the exit road. So what's up? Well, I'm going to start with a little history. On October 1st, this day in 1958, NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, got started, an historic day. They were an aeronautics board beforehand. They got created a few months before, but they went into operations on October 1st. And if you like a little bit of history, you can visit onthisday.com. I like to get my events from go-astronomy.com. I'll mention a few things for you to write down. I see some of you older like me have pencil and paper. No? iPads? Notebooks? Nothing? Laptop? Phone? No. Okay, I'm looking askance, by the way. This is called arms akimbo. I am old, so I know a lot of old terms. Look them up. Arms akimbo, and once in a while you'll see me looking askance at you. All right, so audience participation is not discouraged. Go to go-astronomy.com and you can get your events from the astronomical event calendar, and they list the entire year. So I've just taken October, and I'm going to group the events. I'm going to start with something we can all ignore, which is a partial solar eclipse. That is an eclipse of the sun by the moon passing in front. Unfortunately, it's visible in Africa, Asia, Europe, not here. So I'm going to ignore it, but you can find a lot of good information about eclipses online, especially Fred Espenak's website, which you can find through NASA. Very easy to find. Eclipses, Espenak, just do a search on those two terms, and you can find out that there are more eclipses visible through the year, especially lunar eclipses, which is an eclipse of the very shy audience. Everybody's very quiet. The what? The moon, yes, thank you very much. Okay, a person who's lost some of her shyness, excellent. So I'm going to ignore that, and I'm going to look at events we can see. We're going to find 2 meteor showers this month, one early in the month, one later in the month. The Draconids, coming from a debris left behind by comet Giacobini-Zinner. They used to be called the Giacobinids, but astronomers like to label meteor showers from the constellation from which they seem to radiate from a single point. Now, if we're passing through the debris field of a comet, that's a parallel stream, isn't it? So if we're passing through a parallel stream, why does it seem to radiate out in all directions? Well, think about railroad tracks coming together in the distance. Think about those annoying division lines on the Garden State Parkway. Darn it, this is one of my pet peeves. You know, why is the Garden State Parkway so narrow on those lanes? I swear, compared to the Turnpike, Route 80, 46, 280, so you pick any road, there's a certain set width. The Garden State Parkway, I'm going off on a tangent, aren't I? The Garden State Parkway lines, like other lines, like railroad tracks, meet in the distance. Just like meteors. Meteors come from a single point. Draco for the Draconids, the dragon. Now, this is a minor shower, only 10 per hour, which means in areas where you have light pollution, right? I live in a place where there's suburban lights. I might see 0, or maybe 1 meteor an hour, maybe less. All right, so it's a challenge, but try it. Go out on the peak night, October 8th. Meteor showers do have a bell curve. You can see them before the peak and after, but the best night would be after midnight on the night of the peak. You're looking right down the shadow of the Earth into space, nice and clear and dark. Can't stay up that late? It's all right. Look earlier. It takes patience. So if you miss this one from the short period comet, about 6.5 years around, comes back. We go through it every year. If you miss this one, there's the Orionids. This is made from the debris from a very famous comet, which I saw in 1984, and I hope to see again in the year 2061, when I'll be only 108. I have longevity in my family. Keep your fingers crossed. I'm going to be annoying you people for decades with these talks. This is Halley's Comet, and this is a picture of the nucleus of the comet about 6 miles across. If one of these objects the size of Halley hit the Earth, that would be a calamity. So there are plans now to send up a special space telescope to watch for NEOs, near-Earth objects. Halley's Comet left behind debris that we go through every year between October and November, But again, the peak, look late this month, October 21st, up to 20 an hour, which means if you live in a light polluted area, you might see a few bright ones. Again, patience. You need patience. And you need three other things. Three special pieces of equipment for a meteor shower. Can you guess what they are? You ready? This is very sophisticated equipment we're talking about. The naked eye. Repeat after me. The naked eye. Thank you. You all have them, right? They are the best equipment because they have a wide angle. Meteors are streaming out from Orion, the Orionids, or from Draco, the dragon, all directions. So binoculars, camera, telescope, useless. Use your God-given eye. Second ingredient, a comfortable chair. Third ingredient, bug spray, although we are getting past that season. So very soon you can just freeze in a nice comfortable chair using your naked eye. And that's what you need to enjoy a meteor shower. 2 meteor showers, October 7th and 21st. Now, we have a planet that's going to be the easiest to see. This is the most difficult planet to see by eye. The innermost planet closest to the sun, Mercury. But I'm going to talk about 2 moons. Every month we have 2 kinds of moons. One is the worst to see faint objects in the sky, and the other is the best. Can you guess which is the worst? I hear crickets. That's really funny.
Literally, there are crickets.
There are crickets chirping. What's the worst time to look at faint objects in the sky, like faint nebulas, the Milky Way? The what? Go ahead. Full moon, yes, exactly. And the full moon happens this month, early, October 9th, just over a week from now. Best time, new moon. The moon is close to the sun in the sky. Is it really close physically? No. It's 400 times closer than the sun, 400 times smaller than the sun. So they look about the same size. Interesting coincidence. If you go to moongiant.com on the internet, you can find all kinds of information about the moon, the current phase, some history, some myths. But I like the calendar, which shows us the main phases. You can turn the labels on and off. It's really cool. And those are first quarter, full moon, last quarter, new moon. What? Wait a minute. First quarter. Why do we call this first quarter? There's a half of it lit up. Does that make sense? Let's think about this. First quarter, that would be in the early evening. The sun has just set, face due south, and the moon is directly south, half lit up. So why is it a quarter moon? Well, what about the other side that we don't see, facing away from Earth? Right? That's half lit up too. So we're seeing a quarter of the moon lit up, a quarter of it dark, and 2 quarters behind that we don't see, that we never see, but still get light, right? Because the moon is going around the Earth. It gets lit. Every side gets lit, but it's also rotating at the same rate, about 30 days, so always faces the Earth, just as all of the major satellites of the solar system do to their parent bodies. The moons of Jupiter all face Jupiter. The moons of Saturn all face Saturn, most of the big ones. So full moon the 9th, new moon the 25th. There'll be a test later. Please write that down. Okay, everybody's very busy scribbling on their phablets. Do you know what a phablet is? Phone, tablet. Yeah, it's a fairly new invention. I wrote a science fiction story in which they have phlablets. I'll let you figure out what that is. So check out the lunar calendar at Moon Giant. How about names of the moon? The harvest moon was last month. The moon closest to the fall equinox, when days and nights are equal, when the sun crosses the celestial equator, the equator of the Earth drawn out into space. And that goes back as early as the early 18th century. But our moon this month, and there's a name for every month, I'm going to talk about that, Even in my next talk, which is what's up in the November sky, very good. Again, shy audience members, don't let me come out there. The hunter's moon is the one that comes after the harvest moon. And back in 1710, the British Apollo publication attributed it to Native Americans. Then they called them the country people. And then we have the Feast of the Hunter's Moon every year in West Lafayette, Indiana. Anyone ever been to Indiana? No, it's a small audience tonight. Maybe somebody out there in the viewing audience online might have been there. So let's find out what's up in the sky, and not by talking about things with still pictures, but by interacting with a free computer program called Stellarium. This is free to download. If you don't want to download and install it, you can free to use it. It's free to use online with the supercomputers run by the Stellarium people, or you can use it as a mobile app on your mobile device. Many ways to do this. I've downloaded and installed it on my laptop, and it looks like this. And we're simulating 6:15 in the morning from here, from Jenny Jump, looking towards the east, and there's one of the observatories that way. And right there, the planet Mercury is at greatest western elongation. Facing south, the sun sets in the west, that should be on your right. So if Mercury is elongated, as astronomers like to call this the elongation, if it's elongated west of the sun, what time of day do you look for it? Day or night? Morning or evening? In the east, sun's rising, Mercury is west of the sun, morning sky. You want to get up early, 6:15, here you would see it just over the roof of the observatory, or maybe blocked by trees. All right, and Mercury has a phase first seen by Galileo Galilei. I'm going to center it, and I'm going to zoom in. And pardon me blocking your view if you can't see it. Now, Mercury is tiny in angle, right in the sky. And it's totally invisible. What happened? I think I've turned off planets. Hang on just a second. Oh, there we go. Took a little while. Mercury shows a phase, like the phases of the moon. Galileo first noticed this in 1610 through the first crude telescopes that he made for himself. Although telescopes existed before that, Hans Lippershey actually was one of the first to make telescopes to view things far away. So Mercury has a phase, and so does Venus. Proof that they go around the sun, not the Earth. And look how far I had to zoom in to get it. I'm looking at a constellation here, a backwards question mark and a triangle. That's a springtime constellation. Backwards question mark and triangle. I can actually cheat a little bit and show you the outline and the picture. For Leo, the lion, a sign of the zodiac. Leo is one of the main signs of spring. I remember it by saying main sign, M-A-I-N, or M-A-N-E for the mane of the lion. Every season has a main constellation. In winter, it's the hunter with the belt of 3 stars, who is named Orion. Very good. See, there's only one person in the audience who's not shy. This is very bad. I am essentially a shy person. I am. I grew up very shy. Andrei Codescu, I can't even pronounce his name. A poet came up with the idea that people are like onions. You form a core, and then you add layers as you get older, but at the center, there's still me, that shy person in my onion. So I sympathize with the shy members of the audience. Now, in Stellarium, you can cheat a little bit. You can put other kinds of pictures up, other cultures, not just the Greek myths. But I like to start by looking in the north to get oriented to the sky. So what do? I go outside at night, and I look for what? To get oriented. The letter N, right? So at Jenny Jump, you'll look over the building for the letter N that way, right? Did I warn you not to believe everything I say tonight? Right, you can turn the cardinal points off and on in Stellarium. You can make the sky look as realistic as you want. You can put your own landscapes in. James DePietro took pictures of this whole area, 360 degrees, and made a landscape, and we installed it into Stellarium. You can put your own, you can photograph your own house or your own trees. Recognize a dipper shape? Yeah, that's the Little Dipper. The Big Dipper is low in the sky and hiding in the trees. Well, no, wait a minute. 6 in the morning, it's over there. Why don't we set the time to the current time? I'm going to go right through the daytime to about 19 minus 12 is, mathematicians the audience, so that's not, do the math. I have a friend who says, he complains, that's not math, that's arithmetic. All right, so 19 minus, this is 24-hour time, 7 o'clock at night. How about 8 o'clock at night? It's a little bit darker. So about 8:15 at night, facing north. The Big Dipper is low in the sky. See it? There are actually 8 stars in the Big Dipper. The bend of the handle has a double star in it. So if you have sharp eyesight, try that. Try it tomorrow night, the night after. I think it's supposed to clear up by Wednesday. So maybe Wednesday night we'll have a nice clear night. The Big Dipper is not a constellation. It's part of the Great Bear, Ursa Major, Bear Large, Ursa Major Big. Ursa Minor, Bear Little. Little Dipper, Little Bear. The Big Dipper's pointer stars, about 5 times their distance apart, point about just past, they miss the North Star, Polaris. The Earth's North Pole, as it spins, the Earth has poles, imaginary line going right through the poles, would point right there, very close to the North Star. So we're lucky to have one. Back several thousand years ago, that was our North Star in Draco the Dragon. Draco, long constellation, looks like this. See the head, body, tail. No? How about now? Dragon, Draco, or Draco. Let's leave the pictures off, make it a little more challenging. There are 2 other constellations that you can always see from New Jersey besides the Big Bear, the Little Bear, and the Dragon, and they are the Queen and the King. Looks just like a queen and king, right? Shy audience, again, you don't have to agree with me. I'm making it up as I go along. This actually is Cassiopeia. The queen looks like sometimes like a letter M or a letter W, depending on which way you look at her. And this to me looks like a house upside down. Right? So those constellations spin around the North Star, never rising and setting. They're up even in the daytime. Can't see them in the daytime because what's out? Yeah, the nearest star, the sun. But the farther away we go from north, the worse it gets to see stuff before it disappears. This time of the year, the spring constellations are disappearing in the west. The Crown, the big H for Hercules, Bootes or Bootes, the herdsman. And if you look very low in the south, this is one of the most interesting parts of the sky. You will find signs of the zodiac that spend very little time up in New Jersey. Best time to see them, July, August, September. They're disappearing in October. We've got the teapot-shaped group of stars called the the name is Sagittarius, but we amateur astronomers call this teapot-shaped group of stars the teapot. You see how this works? Yeah, scientific terminology. The teapot. The teapot marks the heart of the Milky Way, right to the right, a little bit over from the spout, now in the trees. a gigantic supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. How do we know? Because we've seen it gobbling up stars and dust and gas, disappearing forever. The steam rising from the teapot. The Milky Way is beautiful to view here at Jenny Jump when it's dark and clear and not raining. So you've got to come back. You've got to come back. You've got to come back on a clear night. We're open April through October to the public every Saturday. We do talks other than mine. We have beautiful viewing when it's dark. You will not believe. You can see the Milky Way crossing the entire sky. It's unbelievable. And I've even seen a little star formation region, a place where stars are forming. I'm going to go backwards in time a little bit here. See what happens if I go back in time? Things are a little bit higher. Yeah, that's too bright. Well, lost in the trees. Oh, there it is. One year while I was here, I looked south and I couldn't believe I saw a little piece of the Milky Way detached. It's actually a place where stars are being born. It's called a nebula, Latin name for cloud. And this is it right here. This is the Lagoon Nebula, because it looks like there's a river running down the middle, a river of dark dust. This is a place where stars are being born, star systems and planets one day. And how do we know? Because some of us amateur astronomers are so old, we've been around long enough to watch it happen. We can actually now see how stars form and how planets form. And we know that some of these planets take longer than 6,000 years to form. We can see them happening. It's amazing. We live in an amazing time of great advances in astronomy. Things change by the day. Check it out. The Lagoon Nebula right nearby the Trifid, Trifid, 3 lobes. In a small telescope, you can see 3 pieces separated by dark dust lanes in the middle. I have to warn you, when you come here again and look through telescopes, you won't see these pretty colors. The light of hydrogen gas glowing red, the light of gas lit up by blue, young, hot stars. That's reflected light. This is emitted light. Hydrogen gas actually glows kind of reddish. The human eye, very poor at seeing colors at low light levels, so everything looks kind of greenish in a telescope. But it is exciting to know what you're looking at. It's mind expanding, and that's why we do these talks. Otherwise, we would say, boring, ho-hum, why bother learning what's up in the sky? We do it for inspiration. We do it to expand our minds and souls. And we do it here, we amateurs like Kim and Chris behind the scenes and myself, because we love to share the sky with you guys. So let's take a little tour of the sky, the whole sky. And I'll show you while we're down here this time of the year, this is a good time to see my sign, Capricornus the sea goat, half fish. This is my sign. I was born supposedly by astrology when the sun was in the sign. Actually, what's happened is that the Earth has been wobbling like a top ever since astrology got started. It actually wobbles. Can you feel it? No. Can you feel the Earth spin? No. It's very slow. The Earth spins once a day around the sun, 365 days once a year, wobbles once every 25,000 years. So if any of you ever visit Switzerland, go see the clock that has a precession movement. There's a gear for this. It means that the Earth's North Pole shifts over a 25,000 year cycle, and so do the signs of the zodiac. And right now, the sun, when I was born in December, the sun is here, not here. It's a whole sign off. And to make matters worse, there's a constellation that the planets, sun and moon go through. This big one here looks like a big horseshoe. That's Ophiuchus, the serpent carrier, the head of the serpent, the tail of the serpent. He's holding the serpent, Ophiuchus. Planets, moon and sun pass through that constellation now. 13 signs, not 12. Some modern astrologers take this into account. But I'm not an astrologer, I'm an amateur astronomer. Like the other amateur astronomers who help run this marvelous institution. you will find two planets low in the sky this time of the year, Saturn, Jupiter, and you can tell them apart from stars because, number one, if they were higher in the sky, they would definitely not twinkle. They might twinkle a little bit, but not like stars. And number two, they move. They move through the sky. The name Planetides in Greek means wanderer, planet, wanderers. So you want to look in Capricornus for Saturn, the planet, and Jupiter is in Pisces, the fishes. And when I say in, do I mean that those planets are close to those stars? Nope. Saturn is about 9 astronomical units away from us now. An astronomical unit is the distance from Sun to Earth. Astronomers use that as a standard yardstick. And it takes light 8 1/3 minutes to go 1 AU. So what's 8 times 9? Very good. Another less shy person in the audience, thank you. 72 minutes, about an hour and a quarter for light to reach us from Saturn. We're seeing Saturn as it was in the past. Here it is. Let's zoom in. Let's imagine we have a powerful telescope. We have to get a very narrow field of view to see Saturn at all. In binoculars, you might see Titan, the big moon of Saturn that may have life on it, living at very cold temperatures. Titan is a big, big moon with an atmosphere. We might see the rings of Saturn just barely, the way Galileo did in a small telescope. Bigger telescope shows us divisions in the rings and beautiful bands, some features in the atmosphere. This is a big, giant planet made mostly of gas. So the technical term for this kind of planet, you guessed it, gas giant. Okay, like Jupiter, like Uranus, like Neptune, 4 gas giant planets. Saturn has about 85 moons. We can see only a few in a small telescope, but if you come back here on a clear night, we'd be very happy to show it to you. Saturn will be up even higher later this year. Nearby, let's zoom way out and back again. Over here by Pisces, the fishes, Jupiter. Center Jupiter, it's right by the moon on the 8th. I'm going to go to the 15th when the moon is out of the sky. Middle of the month, about 7:50 at night, not quite 8 o'clock. And let's zoom in to see Jupiter. I hear the rain is not cooperating, so we'll be wrapping things up pretty soon. Don't worry. I hope you're not getting wet under there. And for the people at home, I know you're not getting wet. If I zoom in to see Jupiter, what would I see in a telescope? Well, I'd see four star-like points zipping back and forth in front of and behind Jupiter. The moons of Jupiter, the big giant moons. The smallest is the brightest. The smallest is the brightest. Does that make sense? How could a small moon be bright? This thing is smaller than our moon. It's called Europa, and we've got some brand new pictures of it. I'm going to show you one later, covered with ice and cracks in the ice inside a giant ocean. And we believe there may be advanced life inside the surface, underneath the surface of Europa. This is one of the principal targets for probes to land and drill down to see if there is a life inside in the oceans of Europa, much like the life that we find in the oceans of Earth at the oceanic ridges, the vents, the hot thermal vents that come out in the middle of the oceans. Is there a system like that in Europa? We don't know. Maybe we'll find out in our lifetimes. Jupiter shows a beautiful disk in small telescopes, even features like bands and a giant storm. A big red spot, great in size, bigger than the Earth. So, of course, astronomers have a very sophisticated name for this. You guessed it, the Great Red Spot. Science, very complicated. You can see this even in a small telescope. Come on back. We've got big telescopes. We'd love to show it to you. So to get oriented, facing south, you can do this from home, kids. It's safe. Look for the summer constellations disappearing. The Teapot, the Archer, the Centaur Sagittarius, Capricornus the Goat. We're going to look up high in the sky along the Milky Way to find a beautiful swan. It looks like a big X, Cygnus the Swan, with its beautiful star Albireo. This is a beautiful double star, blue and gold in color. Ask the astronomers to show it to you. There are 3 bright stars. I'm going to actually turn down the brightness of the Milky Way here. I've got it greatly exaggerated. Let's make it 1. There's a lot of adjustments you can do to customize Stellarium. There we go. Now we can see the triangle of 3 stars that are best seen in the summer. 3 separate constellations: the Eagle Star, the Harp Star, the Swan Star. 3 bright stars seen right overhead this time of year, especially in the summer. So astronomers call it the summer. There you go. I like this beautiful star Albireo. It's still nicely visible in telescopes this time of year. It's very high in the sky. Let's center it and zoom in. In Stellarium, the colors are not easily shown, not very strong. But when you see the star in a telescope, you will just be astounded at the color contrast. One is a kind of a greenish blue, a cyan color. The other is gold, the way the sun would look from a great distance off in space. And I'm always so impressed when I see this, even in a small telescope. So do ask an astronomer here to show it to you. Not tonight, obviously, but I hope that you'll come back. Albireo, the head of the swan, Cygnus. And right nearby, another example of an asterism, something you might find in a coat closet hanging upside down, the coat hanger. Just like the Big Dipper, which is an asterism, not a constellation. So those are some things to see in the sky now. But coming up for fall, we feature the main sign of fall, which is a huge flying horse. Recognize it from legends? Pegasus. You can use Pegasus to locate Andromeda and the most distant thing in the universe that you can see with the naked eye. You can actually see another galaxy like our Milky Way, the one we live in, with its trillion stars. This one's even bigger. And you can find it by finding this great square. Astronomers call it by a very sophisticated name, the Great Square. Thank you. Go down along this star, along the top. Uh-oh. Pardon us, technical difficulties. Count 2 stars over from here. 1, 2, and 2 stars up for a faint Y-shaped group of stars. Now, this is not easy to see in light-polluted skies. You can see these stars. You might see these, but the Y shape is not evident. And right between the spokes of the Y is a fuzzy blob. See it? That's the way it looks in binoculars. Small telescope, Hubble Space Telescope. This is what our Milky Way would look like from the Andromeda Galaxy. Another spiral galaxy. Spiral galaxy, trillions of stars, old stars glowing red to the center, the light of blue stars reflecting off of gas, black lanes of dust, all forming stars. And we are going to merge with this galaxy. Now, the original estimate was very recent. They've actually revised that, so it's going to happen further in the future. Please don't worry. The original estimate was 3 billion years from now. It's actually more like 5 billion years, so don't panic. And we're not going to collide because the distance between stars is so vast that it'll be more like a merger. Most things will miss. And we will do a dance with Andromeda, pass through, around again, pass through again and again and again. The black holes at the center of each galaxy will merge, and eventually it'll be one big galaxy. This is what our Milky Way has done over time. It's swallowed up smaller galaxies. Andromeda is going to swallow up its two big satellite galaxies, just like our two big satellite galaxies. Anybody ever been to the southern hemisphere, below the equator? You will see two. You have. Have you ever seen the clouds of Magellan? Two little fuzzy patchy clouds, permanent in the sky. Those are little galaxies that orbit ours. Something to look for, you can see it with the naked eye. It holds the world's record for that, for doing that. It's 2.5 million light years away, which means that the light that we see coming to us from it tonight left 2.5 million years ago. So a quick review. You want to start in the north to find the Big Dipper, the North Star. Look back around to the south. Look low for the stars of summer disappearing. Look for two planets, Saturn and Jupiter. Look up for the great square to the east and see if you can find the most distant thing in the universe that you can see with the naked eye. Well, you've been a very good audience. I'd like to wrap things up with a little bit of information. Some news. There's a new image of that moon I mentioned, Jupiter's moon Europa, which might have life. The Juno spacecraft flew by it just a few days ago and got a new close approach. It beats the old record by a mile. Well, almost. I'm sorry, it's close to the old record of the Galileo spacecraft. And it looks like this, the whole thing. And there's tremendous detail in the close-ups. New images of Europa. We can expect a space probe from NASA to go to this sometime in the 2020s. You might have heard about a spacecraft crashing into the moon of an asteroid, Didymos and Dimorphos. This is Didymos. This is its moon Dimorphos. That's a shape model. We actually have real pictures. These are small asteroids, nowhere near us, no panic. They are past the planet Mars, far away. They come close enough that we can study them. So they're on the order of a few football fields in size. This one's only about 500 feet. And there's Didymos. And we actually smacked a spacecraft, the DART, D-A-R-T spacecraft, into the moon to change its orbit. This is a test to see if there's a threat to Earth from a near-Earth asteroid, an NEO, near-Earth object. We can alter its trajectory if we do it in time. If it's far enough away from us, all you need is an impact that can change the course over several years so that it will miss the Earth. And we only have to miss the Earth by 6,378 kilometers, about 4,000 miles. It's very small when done from a great distance. Distances in space are measured in the millions of miles. And we actually have a picture, well, we don't have a good picture of the impact just yet. In 2024, they're launching the Hera spacecraft to arrive at this asteroid in 2026 and take close-up detailed picture of the crater. But we do have a preliminary rough picture right now. Take a look. Dimorphos got hit by our spacecraft, part of it, that was sent off by the DART spacecraft. We'll get more information later in a few years. The United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey is very happy to present this series, What's Up in the Sky, presented by myself, Lonny Buinis, but we have other topics, black holes, galaxies, planets, the search for life. Come on back. UACNJ.org has a list of all these events. It's an umbrella organization for not only New Jersey, but some members from Pennsylvania and New York. Magazines, some of you still read, I hope. The younger generation doesn't read much anymore. You can read online, you can subscribe, you can get free stuff from Astronomy and Sky and Telescope magazines. We even have some sample print versions here. There are programs and apps like Stellarium and Celestia, again, free to download and install, free to use online, free to put on a mobile device. Stellarium, I get a big kick out of the latest version, 0.22. When are they going to get to 1? I started with 0.14 years ago. Celestia lets you fly through the solar system. You can see an eclipse of the Earth, an eclipse of the sun, I'm sorry, by Earth, as you would see it from the moon. You could see Saturn from one of its satellites and see the rings as a thin line. Very exciting stuff. If you forget everything else I've told you tonight, please go to space.com. It's easy to remember. It's got events, science, astronomy, history, all things astronomical. And some shameless self-promotion. I've written a book that's interactive. That's my wife's fingers working planet models in 3D using a mobile device. It's really a lot of fun. You can also use a mouse or joystick to turn planets in 3 dimensions, to zoom in, to see details. And my latest, Mars at Your Fingertips, virtual reality. It's for sale, very cheap at $845 plus tax, but you can get the free demo in HD. The full version is 4K with video links, all crash and landing sites for all the things that ever made it to Mars, including one next year, the Franklin rover. But there's the free version, Mars at Your Fingertips. So if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, Astronomy in Motion. You could see the free version, Mars at Your Fingertips, or buy the good one. They're both good. The more sophisticated, or you can contact me, and my email is also at my website, Astronomy in Motion. You've been a very good audience. I want to thank you and the people at home watching this online. Thanks for coming. Hope to see you again.
All right. Thank you, Lonny. I'm
Thanks.
going to release from being doorstop mode.
Yeah, we might have some questions.
Yep.
Kim's got a
We do
microphone.
have actually a number of, or at least a couple online questions. Just a review. I think you all were here, but in case you need to use the bathroom, we have the porta potty right behind you. To my right, your left. We got a gift shop where you can warm in. We got a tent that might try and blow away, but that's besides the point. We're gonna get into questions. I just asked for people here. If you have a question, use the mic, because then our online audience can also hear. The first question that I can think of off the top of my head, because I had them memorized and then I didn't. Why did astronomy and astrology become different things? Didn't they used to be the same thing?
That's a very good question. Why did astronomy and astrology diverge about several thousand years ago? Well, the interest in seeing things in the sky, people thought there were connections between what we saw in the sky and spiritual events on the Earth. And though we now know that the gravity of other planets does not affect us, and their positions in the sky don't influence spiritually, they do inspire us. So the science of astronomy arose from the observations of astrologers. I mean, they were very careful in their observations. Tycho Brahe was an early astronomer who did everything visually with astrolabe as big as this tent, huge, but all visual. There were no lenses back then. Everything had to be done by hand, calculated by hand, all visual. And so astrology and astronomy really began the same way, but astronomy is really a science that takes advantage of improvements in technology. So there's the difference. Astronomy, astronome, name, astrology is study of stars, looking at stars.
All right, question here. Anyone? I can give it to the cricket over there. I'm sure I can find him with enough light. Yes, this program is. We do keep all our previous programs on our archive on YouTube. You can always go back and watch our video archives. You can also add comments and questions. I do periodically scroll through and see what we have. And if you have a question, a lot of times I will try and answer it, or at least find the answer. All right, so the next online question I had was actually someone who was a gamer a bit. You were referring to people as onions. So they said, oh no, people are now Katamari spheres. Like, you know, that game where you kind of roll a sphere and pick up things as you go, and it gets bigger and bigger until you
Sure.
form a world?
Yeah, Andre Codrescu is the poet who came up with that idea. You're a core, and you build layers over the course of your life.
All right, jump in if you have any questions. Just raise your hand and I'll get you. The next one was about actually the recent impact with the DART mission. They hear that there are thousands of frames from the light. I guess it's called Leica. I want to pronounce it like the camera company, but it's LICIA cube yet. But it'll take weeks to download them all. Why would it take weeks?
There must be a problem with the data rate. I know that there was such a problem with the Galileo probe to Jupiter, where it was reduced to 100 kilobits per second. I mean, they had a much higher data rate, but there was a failure with the antenna pointing in the wrong direction. So they got around it, but it just took longer to download all the information. And also, there's a lot of information coming through. So
Yeah.
it does take time. They also use equipment that's hardened against radiation, and that's older equipment, older chips, computer chips, safer but slower.
Right, I'm going to put out a last call for any questions online. I would also imagine part of that has to do is with probably when that was sent up, there were also less scientific instruments up there. And now we have a number of them, including the James Webb, which they're probably also pulling data. And just like any internet connection, there's only so many things you can send through the tube at the same time.
Right, technology changes so fast that you keep in mind a lot of these things went up years ago.
Right, last chance for any questions here. Right, so we're going to let you go. You guys have a great night. Please do use your headlights when you leave, even though there's not as many of us as there normally are here. We do like to be safe and not get run over. All right, you guys have a good night.
Thanks for coming. You're